In the last section, we started putting together our sign-in form. Remember, we're going to have both a sign-in and a sign-up form. Only one is ever going to be displayed at a given time. So in this section, we're going to start adding some text fields where the user can enter their username and password. Text fields in React Native are much like input elements in normal HTML. We'll add a text input tag, which we already imported off of the React object up at the top. And we can just close it immediately. So this right here would render a input for us on the screen. Let's go ahead and save this, flip over to simulator and refresh. So you'll notice that, hey, kind of weird, nothing showed up, right? Well, is this working correctly? Let's do working, just add some text on here and see what's happening. And okay, so the component is rendering correctly and it's getting our update, but the text input isn't really showing up on the screen for us. So here's the trick here. The text input by default doesn't come with any styling with React Native. If you're used to writing HTML for web applications, you've probably used an input before, and you know that when you use an input tag for a like text input, it always comes with some default styling. Well, the thing is that styling is provided by default from the browser, and we don't really get any of that default styling with React Native. So if we want to be able to see our text input at all, we need to add some default styling to it. So let's go ahead and add some style at the bottom, and then we'll apply it to the text input tag here. So we will add another style called input, and we're going to do several rules in here. So we'll do a padding of 4, a height of 40. The padding is to give it, there's the area where the text appears, and then we're going to want that kind of outline around it to make it clear that the user can type some stuff in there. So the padding is going to give us a little bit of an offset to the border. We're going to add some height just to make sure that there's a fixed height to it. We'll add a border using border color of gray, a border width of 1, and we'll also add on a border radius of 5 to give it kind of a nice little rounded look. We'll also do a margin of 5, and we will fix the width of this input to 200. And finally, we're going to align self center. Align self just tells the element, hey, you need to center yourself on the form. And I know that we have align item center up here. When we make use of this width property right here, it starts to get a little bit funky with React Native with the way that it works with the parent. So an easy way to fix this is to just align self. If you want to see what happens without it, go ahead and just delete it and render it. I believe that you'll see the input float off to the left, which isn't quite what we want in this particular case. So we've got some styling on here. Let's go ahead and apply it to the text input tag as styles.input. So let's refresh, and hey, all right, so here's our border, and it's got the rounded radius on here. Let's go ahead and tap inside of it, and you can see we can start entering some text in here. Great. So this is looking good so far. Let's go ahead and add another text input, just a duplicate for right now. So we'll pretend that this one on top is for the username and the one below is for the password. Just to make sure that that's clear to the user, let's add some labels in here as well. So above the one intended to be used for the username, we'll add a text with username, and we'll add a colon, so it's clear to the user that, hey, put your username in there. And then we'll add another one for password. Let's also add a little bit of styling on both of these as well, just so they look kind of like a label. We'll add styles.label on both of them. And then we will also add the label style at the bottom. And we'll just set the font size on here, just something a little bit different to differentiate it. Okay, so nice and big. So we got username and password, and we can type in here. So this is looking pretty good. I like this. Let's try setting our password in here, and oh, oops. I guess you all now know what password I use for everything in the world. Yes, that's right. I just use password. So if I don't actually use password, but you may know, we don't really want to have people, when they enter their password on their device, be able to see it in plain text. Someone who's looking over the shoulder of a user can easily see the password that they're entering here. So just like any other application or any web application out there, we want to kind of, we want to obstruct this. We want to obfuscate it in some fashion. We want to basically, turn this text into little dots. So to do that, all we need to do is change or add a property to the password text input. So we'll add another property called secure text entry equals true. So this property right here, all it does is it tells the password, hey, you are some form of like secure text. You're a password or a PIN code, a key code, something like that. So let's go ahead and refresh it and enter some text. And now it's the dots that we would expect here. Cool. Let's go ahead and continue in the next section.